Hi, I'm Mike Skrypnek, CEO and founder of Grow, Get, Give Coaching, and I've started this video interview series to ask the simple question, how do you live your Grow, Get, Give life? In the roughly 20 minutes or so that we're going to spend together, you're going to hear important secrets, tips, and tricks shared by successful entrepreneur business owners and now Grow, Get, Give Coaching book mastery program graduate authors. Today's guest is Emily Kane. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Mike.
Thank you so much for accepting this invitation to share your story with other entrepreneur business owners. I'm going to read a little bit about you. I like to help by giving your bio to other people so you don't have to tell everyone how great you are. I can just share how great I know you are. Emily's an ERYT 500, kinesiology, Reiki Master Teacher, and Thai Medicine Practitioner. That's a mouthful of accomplishment, but you know, all it means is she's just this amazing, masterful person. Her therapeutic style seeks to hold space in a truly profound way with a refreshing, holistic approach. Emily's helped people from around the world come back to themselves through yoga and energetic work. Her articles have been featured in major publications, including Elephant Journal and Wanderlust. She teaches public classes, yoga teacher trainings, workshops, and Reiki certifications at her studio, I think the oldest yoga studio, longest standing in Whistler, BC, and worldwide. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad to have you here, Emily. My life, of course, is about Grow, Get, Give, and my most recent book, Entrepreneur Secrets to a Grow, Get, Give Life, shares over 90 secrets for ensuring entrepreneurs find success by teaching them better ways to grow their business, get more freedom, and give back. And Emily, you're an impact-minded leader and business owner, and you set the bar really high, just like any other leader. And I'm hoping you can share some of your Grow, Get, Give secrets with other entrepreneurs as they seek to make their own impact. So thank you. I know that's a mouthful of a lead-in, but why don't you just simply tell us anything that I didn't share? Oh yeah, The Energy and Art of Restorative Yoga is the name of your book, and it's published on Amazon. Please tell us a little about you, your business, and why do you do what you do, and how do you serve people?
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Mike. So I wrote The Energy and Art of Restorative Yoga, this resource that just wasn't available in the marketplace. I was seeking a book for the trainings that I run out of the studio, and it just wasn't there. There were some books that were somewhat close and some authors and teachers who I really resonated with, but there was always something that wasn't quite getting into what I wanted to get into. So one day when I was in a training, I was mentioning, oh, hey, like this is how it's done in the book, and this is why you might do it a different way. And one of my students said, Emily, you just need to write a book. And then everyone else started nodding their head. and I thought, wow, I have so much knowledge to share on this topic. Where do I start? And I actually started writing the book very shortly after that. And then we met and things started rolling.
I can remember. I mean, Emily reached out to me and she says, I was on my way through Squamish and I saw this thing, this little tiny statement saying that there was this book master, this course, and you said I had to take it. So I showed up.
It was funny, Mike, because seriously, I didn't really know, and I talk about this in the book too, that sometimes you don't really know how to start these projects or how to get to a certain place, and you kind of have to put your faith out there and hope that that message is received. And I really felt that with writing this book, where I was in this cafe in Squamish and it was a huge bulletin board, like filled with a million things, like it was packed. And
it was.
And no, seriously, it was like it was crazy packed bulletin board. And your name in this book mastery course was so small, but for whatever reason, my eye was drawn immediately to it. And I knew that was like some kind of message that's like, hey, you need to reach out to this person, you need to make this work. And I'm so glad that I did.
So why did you decide to just do, I know it felt like it was almost a calling, and other people But for you, how important, what was this journey? Why did you write this book? Like, why did you go there? Like really deep down.
To help other people, to share what has really supported me over the years. My background, I come from a super athletic background. I mean, I did the degree in kinesiology at UBC. I was very much into sports. I like won a bunch of athletic awards in school. I was top 50 in BC at one time for basketball. And that intensity in my life, although it served me in some ways, it was really detrimental in others. So with this book, I talk a lot about finding comfort in your physical body and how meditation can support you and energetic work can support you. Even mindset shifts, which are really major. One that I was thinking about recently was someone's motivation to run. So someone can love running. I'm not a huge fan of running. I used to train and do running a lot. So I'm not a big fan on like a personal level. I do lots of like, you know, I love hiking, but I'm not a big runner. But I know some people, especially in Whistler, are big runners. So there's a couple motivations you can have to run. And one is from a place of self-love where you want to feel healthy and good in your body. You want that endorphin rush and that meditative mindset. A lot of people actually maintain a meditative mindset while running. And then the other reason is self-harm, self-deprecation, kind of like this negative, like you need to run, and coming from a very different place. So someone that you might see running, you know, they can come from either mindset and you have no idea. So when I wrote this book, it's very much about the internal work that's happening. And of course there's physical posture is involved. There's a lot of photos and a lot of how-to in terms of the specifics, but the majority of it is very much mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you were attracted to develop how you teach and practice restorative yoga for a reason, and most of it is really centered in your personal life experiences and you know and your vantage point to see others and how they deal with their stuff, because restorative yoga is really a lot about, you know, dealing with your stuff or letting it go, or, you know, in so many other ways that you more elegantly would be able to state it than I can. But one thing that isn't necessarily the most elegant but also the most powerful is the very first line in your book: Emily, you are a fuck up. And I've said that, and I said it so you didn't have to, but you know, in your introduction, that's you. You're sharing that. Yeah. And so there I said it, right? And so tell us like the power of that. You know, we laughed when we first said, I go, yeah, you're coming out like pretty casual on your commentary and aggressive about how you feel. And when we first met and discussed the very beginning of this intro and how to explain where you came from, you really explained a lot of the power of that to me. And so maybe share a little bit, just a little bit, without giving everything away, because people have to buy the book to find out what the heck you meant by that.
Sure, for sure.
You know, there you go.
So the beginning of the book, and I really wanted it to have a very strong impact. And I felt for me, like, you know, going back into this memory, it had a very strong impact on me. And it didn't seem like a very significant moment, but just the words and everything in that moment was very significant. And when I was told, like, you are a fuck up by someone who I love, appreciate, and respect, and obviously hold very dear and love very much, you know, and have it like hit that deep, I felt like in that moment there was nothing that I could do to prove to that person that I wasn't a fuck up, you know, and all these things that I'd done to achieve over my lifetime, and all of, you know, mentioned the awards, mentioned all the things that I've done in my life, which most people would think is pretty significant, you know, that there was nothing that I could do. I could be, you know, astronaut, cowboy, millionaire, and still fuck up. I think
or cow person.
And you know, and a lot of people, they cope. I feel like a lot of people cope with this mindset of not feeling like they're enough, and always having to achieve, and always having to work to be worth something. And to recognize the inherent truth that we are already enough was really an important embedded value that I want to translate in this book, and I feel like I've translated in this book.
Well, and you know, being an author, writing a book, going through the journey reminds you of that very thing, like hits you over the head with, yeah, good enough. You know, the perfection is elusive, and you're never as good when you started as you are when you finish. And you know, this life, if you're a pursuit of lifelong learning and, you know, experience, you're never going to be good enough. So it's just one of those, it hits you over the head and says, hey, you wrote a book, great. It wasn't good enough, but it's good. And in fact, in that it isn't, is the best part of it, is that it continues. It's a stepping stone to the next and the next. And, you know, maybe share a little bit about that, what your journey through writing a book was like for you.
Yeah, definitely. It came with its own unique challenges, especially, you know, running a business and doing all these, and doing trainings and teaching public classes and running the back end of things as well as a business owner. And so I found that there were certain times that were quite challenging, and also to maintain balance in my personal life, because I really wanted to make sure that as I'm writing this book, to really walk the walk, you know, to be able to set healthy boundaries, to be able to live a joyous life. And so, you know, that meant that the book was going to take a little bit longer than I probably would have liked. But, you know, I got to snowboard lots last season, got to get out in the mountains, got to go in the backcountry. Like, I did all of these amazing things, and that really sparked me up. And I think, like, essentially the messaging in this book is relating to that as well, in terms of like what brings you joy, what brings you peace, and to honor and follow those things, and to not get so caught up in some of the other stuff that we're fed.
Yeah, I mean, there's always external pressures and then the pressures we put on ourselves, and we often are always combating those internal pressures, maybe more so. And then also that self-talk to just let go, right? Mm-hmm. And say, well, this is a moment actually where this is far more important in my development and who I am and how I help others maybe than this. And writing a book is never a clear path, and it is a journey. And I know that I share messages along the way with people that say, hey, listen, it's going to be like Picasso-esque. It's not always like a clear path. And, you know, when you consider that start to finish, it only took you a year.
Yeah.
When you think about it, when you go, wow, that, you know, that, I mean, I've written books that taken me 2 hours or 2 years. So, and others may never, ever get a book out of them. So the journey, what did you learn in the journey about the actual practice of writing a book? Was there anything there that stood out for you that you go, okay, I'm going to draw from that and use this in the rest of my life?
Yeah, for me, there were definitely a few lessons that I learned through writing it. That to write when inspiration really calls to you, if you have a moment where something is really fresh in your mind, or you're having something come up, to use that inspiration and to write from that. There was one time where, I can't remember which chapter it was, but it was late at night and I was trying to go to sleep, and then I was just like, you need to get up and write, like you need to get up and write right now. And so I did, and I wrote out this beautiful section that I barely had to do any editing on, and it just came to me so strongly. And that's also on the other end of the spectrum, to be really mindful that you're not forcing too much writing, that you want to get into the habit of it, but that it's not coming out forcefully, that you do have those moments of inspiration. And I feel like because I was living my life in such a way that those moments happened out and drained, and trying to get more out of that.
The internet, maybe share those moments happened. Maybe share a little bit with us. We got blocked out a bit.
Oh, and those moments happened quite frequently because I was stoking that creative fire, and I was making sure that I was living joyously so that when I did show up to write my book, I could fully show up and be present. So that was big.
You really do learn to cherish the moments of inspiration and let them happen, because there are so many moments of uninspired time in the process, right?
Yeah.
Were there any what sacrifices did you made some sacrifices? Did you immediately realize that right away, or was this something that you were struggling with at first and then you kind of figured out your own groove?
I don't feel like I really made sacrifices necessarily. I feel like with anything worthwhile, you set aside the time. And there were some weeks when there wasn't as much time to set aside, but other times where I could write fluidly and where it felt really good to do that. So I don't really feel like sacrifice would be the right word, but definitely prioritizing time was important, and doing so in just like little chunks, or if I had like a big day, sometimes there were big days. The rainy days were great. The rainy like fall days when there wasn't much else to do in Whistler, it was really nice to be able to have a cup of tea and write, for sure.
Now you just published, so this is very new. And how has being an author, and maybe it's not about having already a published author in that sense that everybody in the world knows this is happening and this is about you, because that will roll out in time. But how do you think it's helped you position yourself in your business? Maybe is there something that you got from the process, or from this now being in this position as a published author? And of course, let me just put out, we're going to help you like rock this thing. You get on, and when we are ready to launch, we were going to get you the bestseller, baby. All right. Anyways, so let's just find out. For you, where do you think this is leading you, or maybe already has brought you to a point in terms of your authority in the marketplace, or just positioning you on a business side?
Yeah, on the business side, I think it's extremely advantageous because, I've had all this knowledge and something that is really valuable to share, and now I can articulate that. Also, when I have new students or returning students who are curious about my perspectives on certain things, or why I would do something this way instead of this way, now there's a resource that kind of gives that step-by-step framework. And with restorative yoga, like, there really is kind of like a framework and background that I feel a lot of people don't fully understand, and that if you're just walking into a class for the first time, they might not pick up on that. And it's nice as well, because when people do understand the knowledge and information behind that, there's a level of trust that's built between the student and teacher relationship, and that trust is it's paramount.
Yeah, that's almost the simple adage of being able to explain what you do as a process, reaffirms that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? And people can trust, people engage in a higher trust or a higher belief relationship with you when you have a clear process and everything's mapped out. For you, when you have ideas and you had concepts of how you wanted to write a book, did the actual writing of it and putting it all into an orderly process for you, or orderly piece, did that help you provide more clarity for yourself, or was it just also orderly for you that now it provides clarity for others? But are you more clear now on, maybe like I find writing helped me get my message more clearly defined? And the irony is, the most recent book I published in January, actually I created a whole new bunch of training and named it, and was very clear after I wrote my book. So it's not in my book, which is crazy, but it just became so much more precise. And so tell me about that. Was that your experience?
Yeah, I definitely feel like seeing everything kind of in order and being able to get all those thoughts down on paper, down in front of me, I do feel like there was some clarity there, and that, you know, more inspiration is coming from that as well, where I feel like, you know, there's probably more books in my future.
That's hilarious. It's like a gateway drug, I tell you. I even, you know, I swore it off after my first one, and then, you know, we're publishing the 7th one here this month, a collaboration thing. So it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Once you start, you also realize it's not an insurmountable hurdle, and, you know, there's a methodology to it, and it can get done. And once you demystify that, it just becomes something you go, well, if I need to share an idea, it's even sometimes just catharsis. If I need to get all this out of my head and my soul, maybe a good place to put it is into a book, and then you can put it away and deal with other things. Now, you know that, and in this, my authors obviously all understand that the grow, get, give part of my philosophy, the grow part, is all about building a mountain of credibility and raising yourself and putting yourself at the pinnacle, right? And obviously, one of the biggest things for me is I think a book does that. So while I ask everybody else for their grow, get, give, you know, pieces or wisdom, we understand that you get it. A book is continuing to elevate you in the minds of anyone who either wants to hire you, bring you on, listen to you for a resource, or is a future customer. So maybe you can share other wisdom, like, how do you get more freedom? Did you learn anything through the process of book writing, or just in life? What is your kind of best tip or secret to getting more freedom in your life, to be more creative, or just step away from work, or to have ease at work?
Yeah, this is super.
So what's your freedom rule is really what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And for me, in my journey, even before writing the book, but definitely while writing the book as well, it applied, is learning where your priorities and values are, because that will reflect what you do, and to recognize it's okay to say no. And I've become really comfortable with saying no when there's certain things that might not be in alignment with necessarily what I want, or that isn't the best use of my time. And for me, looking at time as a resource, because essentially everything else you can get back, anything tangible of value, like, you can earn that back. That's there. Whereas time is something that is very precious, and we only have a certain amount of hours on this earth, and we all get to decide how and what we do with that time. And so I'm really anchored in that, to really respect my time.
Yeah, that's good. Prioritizing, you know, I can't list, I don't have enough fingers and toes to list how many times people come to me, you know, with that. I don't know how to prioritize my life because it seems like chaos, and I can't figure out which things to do important. And, you know, to lead kind of with your heart, with your soul, with the things that are important to you intrinsically, is probably the best place to start. You know, I think it's
Definitely.
a great place to start.
Well, I think a lot of people are getting chatter from other people, you know, whether it's like family or friends or society, where it's like, this is what you should do. And
Even your book coach.
And I think when people step out of that and recognize, like, is this really what I want? Then, and that's when a lot of shifts happen, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I think that's really great. So far, I'm getting feedback from so many people on their gets, and getting more freedom is one of those things that I think people have really investigated more, you know, in this pandemic year. I mean, and that's the other thing, to be an author in 2020 is like, how memorable is that? The year of chaos and the time when I published my book. So lastly, and this is something I always and have to ask people, because one of the reasons most people are attracted to working together is that they have an impact mindset. And Grow, Get, Give is nothing without the give. And so how, I would ask you, how do you give back? And when I speak of giving back, I don't necessarily just mean philanthropically, although that's critically important, but how do you give back to you, maybe your family, your community, or maybe to the causes that matter, or all of them? you know, what would be a tip or a secret that you would want to share with others on giving back?
Yeah, I would definitely say, and this is from someone who a couple of years ago got in the Best of Whistler, got third best volunteer in Whistler.
Yeah, I'm number 3. I'm good enough.
That was kind of funny, actually. I didn't even
Awesome.
realize that I got it. And then one of my friends was like, "Hey, Emily, did you know that you got this?" And I was like, I actually had no idea. No one informed me. It was a friend who informed me that. So, and when I looked, I was like, "Oh yeah, there's my name." Okay.
That's
But
awesome.
so that was cool. And it's neat to get recognized because I do quite a bit of work in the community. Not so much right now. Actually, one of the major charities that I volunteer for had a really hard impact from COVID. So so that's been diminished for now, but I always do my best to be able to show up for other people and show up in person, show up financially as well. We donate a ton of passes to local causes. If you are a local Whistlerite and you've been to a charitable cause at Creekbread or you know, through WAG or through Zero Ceiling, you've probably seen our passes listed on the you know, the silent auction. So we're very much involved and want to be involved in projects like that and in charitable organizations that are close to my heart and local, but also on a global impact and global scale as well. I know recently with the Black Lives Matter movement and some of the bigger cultural shifts to really get behind that. And I know that even during the pandemic, even financially when things weren't exactly certain, you know, I was still giving to those causes. And I really feel that the more that you give, and I really mean this, and I've seen this unfold in my own life, I feel that the more that you give and the more that you can share these resources that most of us have access to, then the more that ultimately you get back. And I don't mean that in a very literal, like give and take way, but I mean that there's more opportunities and that vibrational frequency. And if some people don't know what I'm talking about when I say like vibrational frequency, that's okay. But know that what you're putting out there is also what you're getting back.
Well, I mean, and it's a lot to do with, and a lot of the language that you use when you discuss yoga and restorative practice, and that is once you create space, things come back in to enter that space, right? You know, when you can't, if you have no space, and by way of not giving of yourself, whatever it is, you can't open up and allow other things to come back to you. So, yeah, I totally share in that. And you know, one of the things, and I really, you know, I look at what you've given and I've listened to that and what you share about community. And, you know, Whistler, of course, is a resort community that was just like devastated and a ghost town where there'd be tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of people walking around, nobody for 2 months.
Yeah.
And to be part of that community, because without the community, either of people in our lives that are part of our customer stakeholder base or the communities that support us, you know, in our midst, we're nothing. We don't have the ability, because that's where our grassroots goes. Even if you work across the world, you don't begin anywhere without the people immediately in your community. So giving back to your community is critically important. So thank you for sharing that. I want to remind everybody, of course, that available today, the Kindle version of Emily's book, The Energy and Art of Restorative Yoga, Aligning Your Life with Energetic Work and Profound Relaxation, is available right now. And Emily, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to find you, if anyone's watching this at all at some point and just says, I gotta find Emily, where can they find you?
It's very easy to reach out to me on social media. So at Emily Kane Yoga, and that's Kane with a K. And also through Yogacara itself. So we've got this beautiful little studio in the heart of Whistler Village. And that's very easy to find online as well. And they can definitely reach out there through email, phone, social media.
And if you're not paying attention, Emily's got some of the best TikTok/Instagram posts I've ever seen. Super fun, super engaging. It's a party all the time. Love them. Keep them coming. So, you know, if anything, you know, the educational or infotainment value is awesome. So anyways, thanks so much, Emily, for sharing your wisdom with me and our listeners or viewers today. Good luck with your new book. Good luck with business. Good luck with life. I'm Mike Skrypnek, CEO and founder of Grow, Get, Give Coaching. If you want more information about how our coaching family members are growing their businesses, getting more freedom and giving back, please reach out to me at info@mikeskrypnek.com. Find us and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and head to growgetgive.com for more. So thanks again, Emily. Have an amazing day. Be well. Namaste.
Thank you. You too, Mike.
And thank you so much for being a part of this.